And welcome back to another episode of Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking Week 15. It's a fun one. Lots of good games. A lot better than last week's slate. No more bye weeks. Everyone's playing. 2 Monday night games. Fun Sunday night game. Fun 4 o'clock slate. 1 o'clock slate sucks. Warren, before we jump into it, your reaction to Bill Belichick getting hired to be the next head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Man. That completely blindsided me. I guess what blindsided me was the report a few days ago where it said this is looking like it could really potentially happen. And then once it was official, I was shocked. I never in a million years would have guessed Bill Belichick would go to college. Like, it's a young man's game right now, coaching in college. All the old guys are moving out. They're saying this is way too much work. No, screw this. I like the old way better. And the old guys are leaving, but Bill Belichick walking into college, like,
it's funny. Like, a lot of guys I work with were like refusing to believe it till like the news broke. I could see it coming. Like, once that first report came out, kind of like since I've been in the news breaking industry, it's like once there's smoke, there's going to be fire behind it. He wasn't getting an NFL job. I might be the only person on the planet who thinks this is fun and cool. I think it's good for content. I'm hashtag team content. And if he wants to get an NFL job, go to college and get a job there. If you still want to coach. Look, he's a nut bar. He clearly didn't like not coaching. He needed to have coaching in his life to be a human being on this world. So hats off to him. I think it could work too. The ACC stinks. We see Clemson and SMU, in their championship game. Like, North Carolina was 6-6 last year. You know, a couple recruits here and there. I don't know. I think it can work.
I don't know. Like, what you think? So you think Bill Belichick is like a big recruiting tool?
But I don't think he's going to be on the recruiting side. Like, the way college is kind of going now. I don't know if you saw this. Like, he hired Michael Lombardi as the general manager of North Carolina. You remember old Michael Lombardi? Like, he's going to be in charge of the recruiting aspect. Like, colleges are almost becoming like an NFL front office now with all the NIL money. North Carolina upped their NIL from $4 million to $20 million for Bill to come in. So he's going to have a lot of extra cash to throw around. I don't think Bill's going to be on the front lines, like in the private jet, flying to different places,
maybe for the
going
big
in
boys.
People's rooms. Yeah, I'll leave it. And then if they need him on the phone or whatever. And look, if you're a mom of a 4-star recruit or a dad of a 4-star recruit, don't you want your kid to go play for the 6-time Super Bowl champion? Like, I think it's a good selling point. Like, I think people are overreacting to the recruiting part of it a little bit.
I'm just more fascinated by it. I can't wait to see if it works and how he does. Like, will he change his ways to the younger game? That's another side of things. Like, most of the guys he coached throughout his tenure in New England, like, the youngest guys would have been what, like 23, 24. Now he's getting 18-year-olds. Like, I'm so fascinated to see how it's going to turn out.
I think it kind of fits his bill, though. He's like a hard-nosed guy. Like, now these guys don't have huge contracts behind him. I think they listen to him more. I might be the only person in the freaking world that thinks this might work, and actually be fun. Like, this is hashtag team content all the way for me. Anyways, we got a lot of football games to discuss, but yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be very fun to watch. All right, Ornsey, buckle up. We got 30 teams to talk about here, and let's start with the best one, the Washington Commanders on the road take on the New Orleans Saints. The Commanders are 7.5-point road favorites. It's going to be Jacob Hayner, it sounds like, for the Saints. It was very funny. So the Eagles and Panthers game last week, when it ended, like, the broadcast goes, "Oh, thanks for everyone watching Eagles Panthers," and it's the Saints Giants game. And the first play you see is Derek Carr just getting absolutely mauled on the ground. It was like that Family Guy meme of Peter Griffin just like torn apart on the ground. Like, that was Derek Carr. I have no interest in watching the Saints team. I know they're 3-1 under Darren Rizzi. You called him a fraud a couple weeks ago. They should have lost that Giants game. I don't think this team has any juice. The Commanders are fighting for a playoff spot. You got anything here?
Yeah, I actually have a lock in this game. I'm on the Commanders -7.5 here. And so I had the Saints in Survivor last week. So I watched a lot of that Saints-Giants game, and I'm very ashamed to say that. But it was a bad football game. And I know we joked last week on the podcast, like, oh, Taysom Hill's not in the lineup, so the Saints offense will fall apart. Well, guess what? The Saints offense fell apart without Taysom Hill. He is a huge part of this offense. He is out. Now Derek Carr is out. Alvin Kamara hasn't practiced all week.
He's sick, right? He's got an illness.
Oh, okay. I actually didn't know that. I just
But he hasn't practiced.
DNPs.
He hasn't practiced. He didn't practice Wednesday and today, so like he might be really sick.
Yeah, and on the flip side of things, Washington's getting Lattimore back. And Washington, coming off their bye, they just looked like a team that needed a bye. They played 13 straight weeks of football. That's a long time. They got a lot of young guys. They're not used to that whole of a NFL season. So I think they're going to be fresh. They were probably the team that needed the bye the most of any team, and they got it really late. They're going to be coming back. I think hopefully Cliff freshens things up, and I think 7.5 is too short here. Give me the Commanders.
Yeah, the Commanders ran all over the Titans before the bye week. Commanders are second in rush success rate right now on the season after running over the Titans. Saints are 30th in rush defense success rate. I think it's a big matchup there. Something I'm very curious in this game, Noah Brown, I don't know if you saw this, he's out for the season with an internal injury. They were calling it a rib injury, and it sounds like it's like something like a spleen or something. He's going to have season-ending surgery. So I'm curious to see who steps up on that offense because he is their second leading wide receiver, third receiver behind Zach Ertz as well and Terry McLaurin. So kind of curious to see how that offense replaces them. I also have the Commanders minus 7.5. I do think the Saints team stinks, and they're done, even though they're 3-1 under.
Yeah, it's Jake Hayner, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Fade him. All right, Bengals minus 4.5 road favorites heading into Tennessee. Joe Burrow's housebroken into this week after that win. Just rough week for him, rough season for him. He's playing so well, the defense can't help him out. Warrensy Jamar Chase is on the Triple Crown watch. I don't know if you've seen that as well. He might be chasing history here, kind of what Cooper Kupp did in 2021. But again, this game isn't very fun. You got anything?
Yeah, this was a game I circled the over. I always look at totals looking at the Bengals, and Titans are a sneaky over team with Will Levis at the helm. But we likely have rain throughout this ball game, so hard to bet an over when you're likely getting rain. Bengals defense is so bad, I can't take them as 4.5 point favorites. I know they covered last week against Dallas, but let's be real. That was as fraudulent of a cover as you'll ever have. You get a block punt turned fumble recovery.
4th and 27 block punt. Like they were 4th and 27 and end up with the football driving down to win the game. It was spectacular as a Bengals better, I'll tell you that.
So no matter what situation, I can't see the back door not being open. So for the sake of the show, I'm going to be on the Titans plus 4.5.
I'm going to take the Bengals here. I think I don't know. I can't figure out the Titans whatsoever. I do agree with you. I don't love it. Like, it's 4.5 is a lot of points. The Titans defense has just fallen off a cliff lately. If you look at week 7, they're 24th in EPA per play since then, and they were second leading into that stretch. So, like, they have just been a tale of two different halves for the team on defense. So I'll just trust that this Bengals offense can cover the 4.5. All right. Next up, this game's solid. Miami Dolphins on the road take on the Houston Texans. Texans currently 2.5 point favorites, heavy juice. That probably gets to 3 by kickoff. The Dolphins survive in overtime last week. They're fighting for the playoff lives right now. The Texans are coming off a bye. Wardsy, what you got?
So the Miami Dolphins, they've kind of become a team that is somewhat predictable in the sense where they beat the teams they should beat. They lose to the teams that are better than them. AKA, they beat bad teams, they lose to good teams. Are the Houston Texans a good or a bad team, Brendan?
This might be this might shock you. Like my first lock here. I'm gonna ride with your Fins. I
like it.
I think the Texans are not a good team. I've been saying this on this podcast. It's been since week 7, week 8. I've been banging the drum that Texans are the most fraudulent NFL team in the league. I get they're coming off a bye. I don't think that fixes fuck all. I like the Dolphins a lot in this spot. I think it's a bad matchup, especially for the Texans defense. They get torched over the middle of the field. They are 29th in EPA per play allowed, second in total EPA allowed over the middle of the field. Guess who's first in success rate of throwing the ball over the middle of the field this year as a quarterback? It's Tua Tagovailoa. The Texans linebacker core is now like toast without Azeez Al-Shaair. He's suspended. Christian Harris might be coming back this week, but he's not a good coverage linebacker anyways, and it's Henry To'o, who's one of the worst linebackers in football. Another key here, I think the Dolphins are going to get after CJ Stroud and cause some ruckus. I don't know if you've been quietly watching Chubb Robinson lately, Warrensy, but he's one of the better pass rushers in the NFL as a rookie lately. Since week 8, he's 4th in pressures. I think this is just a bad matchup for the Texans defense against the Dolphins offense, and I don't think the Texans offense is going to fix things after the bye week. They are a fraudulent 8-5 team. I think they're going downhill. I think they're going to be one of those playoff teams you want to see if you're on the other side in Wild Card Weekend. I'm assuming they're going to win the AFC South at this point. And everyone's been kind of pointing to this week, that 1 week in 2022 when D'Amico Ryan shut down Mike McDaniel. I don't know if you remember that game, Warranty. It was like Mike McDaniel at like the peak of his powers in 2022. He went to the 49ers. The 49ers shut him down. Fred Warner was amazing in that game for the 49ers. They don't have a Fred Warner in Houston. So I really, really like Miami. This is probably my favorite pick of the week. I'm all over the Dolphins plus 2.5. I think they win this one outright as well.
I like it. Only note I have to add is in your favor. I have that the Houston Texans have missed the third most tackles in the NFL this year. Miami Dolphins is not an offense you can miss tackles on. They will burn you with that. So all aboard the Dolphins this week.
Yeah, like the Dolphins offense is playing really well. The Texans offense is not. And that's one of my favorite matchups to exploit when betting. So lock in Dolphins plus 2.5. All right, next up. Dallas Cowboys are on the road to take on the Carolina Panthers. Warranty, the Carolina Panthers are favorites for the first time since December of 2022. That is a 34-game streak of being underdogs. They are finally a favorite. Do you like Bryce Young as a favorite?
Yeah, it's not a lock for me, but I'm definitely siding with the Carolina Panthers in this spot. I've been impressed with Bryce the last few weeks. He has clearly played a lot better.
Impressed? There we go. We're making progress here. You want to impress.
I think I'm saying he's played a lot better, which yes, that is a tip of the cap to Bryce Young.
I'll take it. It's a little bit of a compliment. We're making strides here.
I do just look at the spread sitting under a field goal, and I think there's line value there with the Panthers. Just imagine Chuba Hubbard 2 weeks ago didn't fumble the ball against Tampa Bay. Imagine Xavier Legette caught that ball on Sunday against the Eagles. I think the spread is 3.5, 4.5. So I think the fact that it's under a field goal, I like that spread value, and it's not a lock for me, but I'm definitely leaning Carolina Panthers here.
Yeah, I also like the Panthers as well. I think the DeMario and Overshown injury is like the worst thing to happen in the Cowboys season. Like he was probably their best defensive player all year. Like I know Micah Parsons when he's on the field, but he's been hurt. Overshown is a massive loss for this year and for next year. And
center Beebe got hurt as well, so they're thin on the interior of the O-line. So wasn't a lock, but yeah, I like what I'm seeing out of this Panthers group. They're playing spirit. It's funny. These teams have very similar records, but their seasons couldn't be more different in the sense like vibes are great in Carolina and vibes are just so bad in Dallas.
Yeah, that punt block ruined the season. Like there was a very slim chance they were going to make the playoffs anyways, but that dude on special teams basically shut it down for the year. And yeah, the Panthers gave the Eagles a good run. The Panthers played well last week. I think they're playing good ball. They gave the Chiefs a good run. They give the Bucs a good run. They're definitely not the worst team in the league right now. So I think they can definitely cover 2.5. I think the Cowboys are a worse team. All right. Another bad game. The New York Jets on the road take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jets are 3.5-point road favorites. This game is so gross. So when I was looking at this slate, I was going, this is a game that I'm like least excited to talk about, even the other bad ones at 1 o'clock. If you look at since Robert Saleh got fired, so week 6, the Jets defense is 31st in EPA per play. The Jaguars defense is dead last. So we have the two worst defenses basically of the last 10 weeks. Warren, here's a fun stat for you. Mac Jones can tie the record for the most consecutive starts with 0 passing touchdowns and at least 1 interception. He has 5 straight. If he does it again, this would be 6 straight. That was the most in NFL history. We are on record watch here for how bad Mac Jones has been as a starter. Now, again, that's starter because he went in for injured Trevor Lawrence and played well in that Texans game. But when he is QB1, it's been rough. Warren Z, do you have a lean in this?
I'm with you in the sense this is a game I have no interest in. Earlier in the week, this line did get down to Jets -3. That intrigued me a little bit. I mean, Aaron Rodgers turned back the clock last week. It was his best game as a New York Jet.
Bit. The first half, yes. The first half was great.
He threw for 300 yards. And
for the first time in 1,200 days? It's been like 4 years.
But what you just said, the Jaguars are dead last in defense over the last few weeks. So if there was another defense for him to throw for 300 against, it's this one. They've struggled against wide receivers all year. You got Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson on the field. So I definitely lean Jets. I liked it way, way more at -3 than I do 3.5. So I'm going to pass overall, but for the sake of the show, I'll hold out hope Rodgers has one more vintage performance in him. And at the same time, you're also fading Mac Jones. So
I don't know what to do. I I have Jaguars plus 3.5 written down here, but you kind of convinced me. Like the Jets are a better team, right? Like I think okay, I'll take the Jets minus 3.5. This is I think it's the first game of the year where I actually just had no clue what I was going to do going into the show.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to a wild spread. The Baltimore Ravens, Warren Z, are 16.5 point road favorites. You heard that right. 16.5 point road favorites. And the juice is on the plus 16.5. This might hit 17.5 by kickoff over the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. Insane. This is the highest road favorite spread since 1998. Warren Z, do the Giants have any hope? Does Cutlets and the boys have any hope of covering this astronomical spread?
You got to lead with the fact that it's Tommy DeVito getting the start. And earlier in the year when they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and he was starting, you and I were early on it, hammered the Bucs. That was a rocking chair win. They won that game by 23 and they took their foot off the gas.
That was probably our best bet of the year, eh? We were both on it. We're fading Cutlets. Everyone else was buying the meme quarterback stuff. Me and you shut that shit down.
Now, I liked 6.5 a lot more than 16.5.
Yes,
so
true. Yes,
it's a way different game. Baltimore does have the look-ahead factor. They do play Pittsburgh next week. Is there a chance for foot off the gas? Let's get our starters out of this game, maybe when they're up 3 scores late. I took the Eagles last week minus 14.5, and I hated watching every second of that game, so I'm definitely not taking a 16.5 point spread as a lock. But you just look at this matchup for Derrick Henry. Giants are really bad versus the run, and that we saw without Dexter Lawrence last week, their run defense was even worse. So there's just no way where Derrick Henry doesn't have a massive game. So I'm going to take the Ravens for the show, but pass overall.
Did you look at Derrick Henry's touchdown odds in this game? Like what
minus
the
400?
It's close. Minus 310 to score. He's plus 175 for 2 touchdowns. That is just the most minimal juice I've seen on a 2 touchdown NFL better. As a guy that like romantically follows 2 touchdown bets on sports books. If you're the Ravens, you're looking ahead to next week as well. You got the Steelers coming up. That's the divisional game. Like this is kind of like we're coming off a bye. Let's not put too much out on tape. And let's go into next week against Pittsburgh. I took the Eagles minus 12.5 last week, and I fucking hated it because in my head I was like, if they don't cover, like if they win and don't cover, it's still like I'm still happy there. If the Eagles do cover, then I'm even more happier they blew them out. So I you know me, I cannot take a 16.5 point favorite. Just not gonna happen. I'm taking the Giants plus 16.5, but I don't like it. My brain won't let me take a 16.5 point favorite. Okay. That game stinks. Let's move on. One last game in the 1 o'clock window. The Kansas City Chiefs are 4.5 point road favorites heading into Cleveland. This game is sneaky fun. Warnsey, what you got?
Yeah, sneaky fun. And we got Jameis in the snow earlier this year, which was great. Now we're getting Jameis in the rain. It is going to rain throughout in this ball game. So I don't know who that favors. I guess probably the Chiefs, but you couldn't pay me to bet on the Chiefs right now. They haven't covered in 9 straight weeks. Like this is black magic. I am fully aboard that take now. I know it's been a common one. I pushed it away early, just saying, hey, it's Patrick Mahomes, they're good. But now I am fully aboard this black magic stuff that they're doing.
Killing children under Arrowhead, bud. They're murdering kids out of there.
Oh, come on, man.
I don't know how else to explain it. What else? How else can you explain this? It's nonsense.
I don't know, but they're not covering whatsoever. Now the thing is, they're playing a Cleveland team that does have a track record of shooting themselves in the foot and allowing the other team to cover rather easily, aka Jameis Winston pick sixes, or last week Kadarius Toney 2 touches, 2 fumbles. Just an his first play he got a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty for throwing the ball at the defender. His second touch was a muffed punt that just killed the chance of a backdoor cover, but he's been cut. So got your Kadarius Toney touches for the year in that game, but I'm not taking the Chiefs. I'll side with the Browns plus 4.5, but you'd never see me bet this in real life.
The rain scares me a little bit for the Browns. I'm going to stick with my guns here. I'm seeing some wind too, so that does freak me out a little bit. I did not check the weather, so good call showing me that. But my second lock was going to be the Browns plus 4.5, and I'm going to be a Browns money line better on Sunday at 1:00. I think something's got to give. It has to happen now. This is it, Jameis. You got one more chance to shock the world this season. This not just scream Jameis Winston fun social media game? He beats the Chiefs. He finally ends this black magic streak. To me, that just screams that. A couple more notes why I like the Browns a lot. DJ Humphries is not practicing right now. He was their third starting left tackle for the Chiefs last week. He also didn't play very well. He allowed 8 pressures last week. He stunk. But Wanya Morris also stinks. Kingsley Suamate also stinks. Guess who lines up at 80% on the right edge for the Cleveland Browns defense?
I bet it's going to be 99.
It's Myles Garrett. 80% of these defensive snaps come on the right edge against the left tackle, and I'm assuming it's going to be 100% in this game.
100%.
They're going to take advantage of that. Yeah, they're going to take advantage of that all game. The Browns defense is 6th in defensive success rate, but 18th in EPA. They are not very good at stopping the explosive plays, but on a down-to-down basis, this Browns defense is a good defense. The Chiefs do not get explosive plays. They are first in offensive success rate. So I think this Browns defense matches up very well against the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And the Chiefs defense is 29th in EPA per drop back since week 8. They are a terrible pass defense. That Jalen Watson injury, I've been saying, I think I've said it multiple times on this podcast, is the most underrated injury of almost the season in the AFC, because the Chiefs are having a very hard time stopping the pass outside of Trent McDuffie.
They just signed Stevie Nelson.
Yeah. Eagles
is he
legend.
Playing this week?
I don't know. I don't think he's going to get acclimated that fast, but Bird's legend,
baby.
baby.
That's where they're at. They're picking up guys out of retirement. Yeah.
So I think the Browns, if the wind can hold up a little bit, I think they can throw the ball. The rain doesn't scare me. It's more the wind when it comes to throwing the ball. So I'm hoping the wind can slow down a bit. And if it does, I think Jameis cooks. I like the plus 4.5, and I will sneakily make a Browns, not sneakily, I'm telling everyone, a Browns money line bet, and I'm going to love it. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to rooting against Patrick Mahomes and getting my heart ripped out of me.
All right, buddy.
All right, let's do a couple 4 o'clock games since we got we got Monday nights and a big 4 o'clock slate before we head to break. Let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts on the road to take on the Denver Broncos. This is a playoff game. If this is a playoff game in Week 15, so if you take a look at the playoff odds for the 7th wildcard slot, the Broncos and Colts are both chasing it. So Denver with a win, they have a 91% chance of making the playoffs if they beat the Colts. With a loss, it's 51%. So it basically turns into a coin flip if they lose. Indy, if they win, has a 51% chance of making the playoffs. With a loss, it's 6%. So it's basically do or die for the Colts, and the Broncos, if they win, they're basically in. So this is huge implications. What do you make of the Horseshoes and the Broncos going at it?
Yeah, this is a good game. Both these two teams are coming off a bye. Does that cancel each other out? We don't have much data on Steichen as a head coach, with obviously this only being his second year. Sean Payton, on the other hand, coming off a bye, 64% cover rate in his career. You got to think he's cooking up something good for Bo Nix, because he knows the menu he's getting, which is Gus Bradley. He is getting cover 3. This year, that has been Bo Nix's most favorable defensive look. I got to take the Broncos in that situation. It's not a lock or anything for me, but I'm just going with a trend of a good coach off a bye in Sean Payton. And when you throw on top of the fact that it's a bye week, when you know the defense that you're going to face, Gus Bradley has played cover 3 at the highest rate this year. He's played cover 3 at the highest rate in the NFL for the last 3 years. So I'm going to side with the Broncos.
Yeah, I was looking up the zone man splits today on True Media. The Colts are playing 83% zone coverage this season. 83%.
It's insane.
It's nuts. They are allergic to man coverage. The Broncos, on the other hand, play man coverage at the 7th highest rate. So both these defensive coordinators do what they do. Like they are not scared. They don't give a fuck what the personnel is. And it's funny, the Denver proved it, because with Riley Moss injured against the Browns, it was rough. Like poor Levi Wallace, he had an awful game, and Vance Joseph didn't change a thing. He just kept blitzing and playing man coverage. They left Levi Wallace on an island. So it's funny that both Gus Bradley and Vance Joseph stick to their guns. I respect it. You are right. This is actually a friendly matchup for Bo Nix. He's 5th in QBR since week 6 against zone, but struggles against pressure. He's 29th and QBR against pressure. And this Colts defense has been getting after the quarterback a little bit better. DeForest Buckner is actually playing really good football right now. He's kind of turned back the clock a little bit. It doesn't look like Riley Moss is going to play in this game either. He has not practiced this week, so he's still going to be out. They're trying to duff a bunch of different combinations at that corner spot to see. I think Anthony Richardson can have some success deep in this one against that blitz. He's averaging 16 air yards per attempt against the blitz. My brain blew when I saw that stat. Colts receivers, catch the damn ball. It's time. You're leading the league in drops since week 5. It's so bad. I don't really have a great lean in this one, but I'm going to take the Colts and the points at +3.5. Hard one to read, but fun game. Fun game. All right.
Agreed.
Last 4 o'clock before we take a break here. The New England Patriots are on the road to take on the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are 6.5-point favorites. My notes here, Kyler's got to play better, Ornsey. He's been rough the last 3 weeks. If you take a look at EPA, so just efficiency over the last 3 games, he's 27th out of 32 quarterbacks. He's not looked pretty. Ornsey, can the Cardinals bounce back here?
Yeah, I do think they bounce back here. And you mentioned Kyler Murray's last 3 weeks being poor. 2 of those 3 weeks were versus the Seahawks defense, who play heavy zone coverage. The game in the middle, I do believe, was heavy zone coverage as well. Kyler's splits, we just talked about Bo Nix's splits being very heavy or big difference, man versus zone. Same thing for Kyler, but he's the opposite. He loves man coverage, tends to struggle versus zone coverage. The Patriots this season are playing the 3rd highest rate of man coverage per game. I think they bounce back. We missed the good line value here because I do think the spread opened at 5.5. It's people bet Arizona early, so we missed the best of the number there. So how I'm going to attack this game is one of my locks will be a prop, and it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. He's getting off the milk carton this week. He has been invisible, but he as well, his splits much better versus man coverage compared to zone. So I think his number at 57.5 feels very low to me. So I'm going to take Marvin Harrison, 57.5 receiving yards.
I like it. I think he's going to bounce back as well in this one. They desperately need him. I was looking up his Pro Football Reference page. He only has 9+ catches and 70+ yards twice all season. And they tried to target him the ball a little bit more last week, but you're right. The Seahawks defense just has been a bad matchup for this offense. I think they do much better against man where Marvin Harrison can thrive. So I'm with you. I think the Cardinals bounce back, and I like Marvin Harrison totals a lot as well. I was looking at his touchdown odds earlier just to see what was kicking there. I couldn't find it. No, it's +150. Sorry, on FanDuel right now. It is up now, so I think I'll probably sprinkle on that as well.
Yeah, the Seahawks in those 2 matchups did an amazing job of eliminating James Conner. This Arizona offense is predicated off establishing Conner, and then everything else is built off that, and they just never could get Conner going. I think against the Patriots, they get Conner going, and that just opens everything else up.
Yep, I agree. I like the Cards a lot. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to finish out the 4 o'clock games, the night games, and the Monday night game.
The Double Doink Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. It's especially hard when you don't have someone you can open up to. Not everyone is comfortable talking to their friends and family about their personal matters or anything that is bothering them on a day-to-day basis. Mental health is so important to continued success in this world. Therapy is a great way to regroup and get everything off your chest. Insert BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy service, 100% online. They will match you with a professional licensed therapist you can trust. You can talk with your therapist however you see fit, via text, phone call, or video chat. BetterHelp has successfully helped over 4 million people worldwide deal with their day-to-day mental health issues. Use the link in the podcast description to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.
And we're back on the Double Doink Podcast, finishing up the Week 15 slate. Some good games coming up, Ornsey. Buckle in. Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers are 3.5-point favorites. Chargers, we talked about the Chiefs earlier. So that doink ball goes in. Chargers fall to the Chiefs. Good fight, good effort without Ladd McConkey. Warnsey, what you got? This game's fun.
Yeah, this is a fun game. I could not get a read on this game or a feel for it, to be honest. The spread is currently sitting at 3, meaning some money came in on Tampa Bay because it opened above a field goal. Ladd McConkey being back is huge for the Chargers. Their offense desperately needs him. I swung and missed on Will Dissly last week. Him getting hurt at halftime really didn't help, but
yeah, you got to be on the field to score a touchdown. You know, it's kind of
but he also really kind of was invisible in the first half, so I can't even use that as a full crutch. I'm going to take the Chargers since it's 3 right now and not showing 3.5. That's how close I am on this game. If it was 3.5, I think I'm taking the Bucs, but since it's 3, I'm taking the Chargers.
Yeah, lad back is massive. He's going to play in this one. Bucs defense, 25th in dropback EPA, 31st in pass defense success rate. It's been a bad pass defense. They also can't stop tight ends. Take a look at Stone Smart's odds at plus 390 for a touchdown.
He looked falling into the
I'm falling into the trap. Man, I remember my read last week was Brock Bowers against the Bucs. Bucs can't stop tight ends. They've been the worst defense across the middle. Stone Smart had juice last week. He looked good. I think they got a player. I think they got a player in them. I saw plus 390 today. My eyes lit up. That's a bet we will be hitting on Sunday. So I wanted to throw that out there. The Bucs also Bucs on like the positive side for them. The Chargers play the most light boxes in the NFL. The Bucs can run against light boxes. They're 5th in success rate against light boxes, 7th in EPA. But Bucky Irving's a little banged up. Mike Evans is a little banged up. Both of them didn't practice on Thursday. They're probably going to play, but they're going into this game hampered. I like the Chargers as well, minus 3.5.
Oh, it's -3 right now.
-3? Okay.
Yeah.
-3. All right. Well, I like it even better. Next up, maybe game of the week. Probably is.
I know for somebody. These next two are undoubtedly 1-2. It's just how you rank them.
I was going to hold the Eagles for the last 4 o'clock game. So we're going to go to,
I just assumed you were going with
the Bills-Lions has to be game of the week, right? Like, this is as good as it gets.
Because I haven't won. I just assumed you were looking at that Eagles game and just assuming
it's game of the week for me.
You're going out of order right now.
Yeah, I'm going a little out of order. I'm going to hold the Eagles for last. This has to be game of the week, in my opinion. The Buffalo Bills are on the road to take on the Detroit Lions. Like, it doesn't get any better than this. Like, it's a regular season game. This is as juicy as it gets. We saw the Bills last week have a hard comeback, try to win that Rams game. Everyone's blaming Sean McDermott for that call. Yes, it was really stupid, but at the same time, don't go down 17 points in the fourth quarter to the Rams and maybe your chance of winning. The Bills really struggled against motion in that game. Like, they put the Bills secondary in blenders. And guess who runs motion at the 5th highest rate in the league? It's the Detroit Lions. They do a lot of similar things to what the Rams do on offense. Warrensy, do you think the Bills can bounce back?
I do not. This is my 3rd lock of the week. Give me the Detroit Lions -2.5.
Interesting.
Anytime I see this team under a field goal, that's automatic for me. They are the best team in football right now. That's not even a hot take. They're 9-4 versus spread this year. I've bet them every single week this year. This week I will be just betting them slightly more than I usually have, but they have been very profitable this year, and under a field goal, I really, really like them. Bills fans aren't going to like hearing this. I think their defensive line is soft. I think the Detroit Lions offensive line couldn't be further from soft. I think they are the exact opposite. They're Dan Campbell built offensive line, and Taylor Decker is expected to be back on the field. I think David Montgomery is going to feast. Saw Kyren Williams have success last week. We saw Blake Corum have success last week. So I think David Montgomery follows that up. Does Josh Allen have success? Obviously. He's going to have a big game as well. The Detroit Lions, over the last 3 seasons, have given up the highest yards per carry to quarterbacks. So I really like Josh Allen's legs this week, but I think the Lions offense gets whatever they want. I hate saying this. I know he's a fan favorite. The middle of the field, Matt Milano is done. He's cooked. He had really, really, really rough game last week. I don't think he's just all of a sudden going to be better this week versus the Lions offense. So give me Laporta props, Monroe St. Brown props, Montgomery props.
The whole Lions offense.
Betting Lions props because anybody could get the ball at any time. They're a very hard team, but I think it's green light special for the Lions here.
You brought up the run game. What I found was very interesting is everyone was talking about the Rams pass game. The motion really opened up the run game for Kyren Williams in this game. The Lions are 2nd in rush success rate when they use motion and run. So, I think they're going to copy a lot of what the Rams schemes they had last week, try to get those secondary players moving and get them off and get them off their spot. The Buffalo Bills do have a lot of reinforcements coming. Keon Coleman is going to play this week, and Dalton Kincaid are going to play this week, so I think that helps. You brought up Josh Allen. You brought up the Lions in their quarterback run game. It's because they played man coverage at the third highest rate in the league, and they blitz at a crazy rate, so the quarterback's going to have open lanes to run. I had a really hard time in this one picking it. I'm going to go with the Bills plus 2.5. I don't love it. I think this is going to be as close as it gets. I could see anything happening in this one, but I like the Bills are coming off that kind of meteoric loss. I think they get a bounce back spot. Sean McDermott, I still think is a good defensive coach. I think he's a better game plan, but there's definitely a scenario here where the Lions roll.
Yeah, 54.5 is also the highest total of the year so far. Totals over 54 over the last 10 years are actually only 10 and 23 to the over. So you're crazy if you bet the under in this game, though. So I think there's going to be a lot of points. And side note, though, this is a very side note, nothing to do with on the field play. Did you see what the Buffalo Bills did this week off the field? And they just put the most massive curse on their franchise.
Hit me. I did not see this.
The Vince Carter.
The Vince Carter.
They added Vince Carter to their ownership group. They will never win shit. Never.
I actually wrote a story on that at the Score. At first I was going, and then it clicked in my head where he was going with this. Oh my God, your hatred for Vince Carter. That's hilarious. Hey, it's you got Tracy McGrady in there as well. It's not just Vince.
Oh yeah, big Toronto guy.
Yeah.
Did you see Terry Pagula's speech about it? It was like, oh, it's great. We're bringing in guys from the Toronto market. Like, he really knows what it's like.
He's like bringing in winners too.
Two guys that just quit on us and gave up on us. He's like selling Bills in Toronto. Like, what is that?
Holy shit, that just killed me. If you don't know, the Buffalo Bills added 10 minor owners to a minority share. Vince Carter was one of them. Tracy McGrady was one of them. And it was a former Toronto FC player was one of them too, right?
Josie Altidore. He's a beauty. We love Josie.
That's
scored
hilarious.
some of the biggest goals in TFC history.
Yeah, I did not know that. I haven't watched a single minute of TFC soccer in my life. Okay, that was funny. Let's move on. Pittsburgh Steelers on the road take on my Birds. Philadelphia Eagles are 5.5-point home favorites. For a team that's 11-2, the amount of fucking drama surrounding this team is driving me absolutely up the wall. We're on a 9-game win streak. They are 11-2. This is like the best I've ever felt about a football team, an Eagles team, since, I guess, 2022, 2017. It's been a long time, and it's all about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts not liking each other in the media. So if you haven't been following along, A.J. Brown said after the Panthers game, which I think if he didn't say this, I think he would have been crazy, because he said that what can be better about this offense? He said passing. The Eagles were terrible throwing the ball against the Panthers. The passing game has not been pretty, and everyone took it as that Jalen Hurts and him don't like each other. Then Brandon Graham goes on WIP radio and says that Jalen Hurts is trying to like fix stuff, and it blew it all in proportion. A.J. Brown kind of shut everything down in the media yesterday. It's been pissing me off. It's been a shitty week to be an Eagles fan. Warnsy, is this a good spot, a bad spot? What do you make of this nonsense going on heading into the link?
I don't know. I think you gotta bet A.J. Brown's yards, don't you? 80.5. The only thing that worries me, though, is he's probably lined up against Joey Porter a fair bit, who's giving up a lot of penalty yards, not a lot of passing yards. He's been very grabby lately, giving a lot of penalties. So I'm worried that A.J. Brown's total of 80.5 is gonna miss just because Joey Porter hangs on to him and it's a pass interference and not a completion. This is a really good game. 5.5. Mike Tomlin as an underdog. You know, I'm not a trend guy, but he's now going into his 101st game as a dog. He's 64-36 as a dog. Like, hats off. How do you even get to a trend where you have over 100 games as an underdog in the NFL and you're covering still at that rate?
Gotta coach a long time.
It's crazy. I know I bring it up every time he's a dog, but Tomlin has a dog, so I'm going to take the plus 5.5. I think the Eagles win this game, but I do think it is a close matchup, and I'm going to take the Steelers.
Found it interesting. The total's 42.5, pretty low. So Vegas isn't expecting a lot of points.
I think this is going to be like a hard hard-nosed, gritted out. Every yard is a absolute war type game. I could see this being 17-13, no problem.
Okay, a couple notes I have here. This is the best defense Eagles are going to play all year, and it's the best defense they have played all year. They've only played one defense in the top 10 in EPA. The Steelers are 5th, so this will be their 2nd. They haven't played this kind of competition on defense. Having said that, the Steelers' defense can be had. Like, they're not like crazy good, but they're solid. They can't be had against the run. They've allowed 10th total EPA surrendered against the run, and they're 18th in rush success rate. So Saquon Barkley can have a matchup there, but I think the Steelers are going to be putting a lot of their eggs in shutting down that basket. No George Pickens for Pittsburgh. I think that's huge. He did not practice this week. He's not expected to play. And the Steelers live and die by the deep pass to Pickens. If you take a look at Russ's kind of deep throws this year, he's thrown 31 deep passes for a total of 567 yards. 280 of those yards and 16 of those completions have come to George Pickens. So without him, like, you got Calvin Austin, Pat Freiermuth, Van Jefferson, Mike Williams, it gets rough there. And the Eagles defense is very good at stopping the big play as well. They're 3rd in defensive EPA against throws of 20 plus. So I think it's a good matchup for the Eagles defense against the Pittsburgh offense. Don't love the matchup for the Eagles offense against the Steelers defense. So I'm with you. Like, I do think we could see a lower scoring game. But my third lock is going to come against A.J. Brown touchdown. He's fucking finding the end zone.
Yeah,
He's got to. He's got to find the end zone. He's scoring. It's plus 150. I don't love throwing out a plus prop for my lock, but it has to be it this week. It got so blown out of proportion. Like, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are best friends. They're also teammates and they're competitors. They're two of the most competitive guys in football. A.J. Brown even said it. Like, if I'm not calling out people, if you're making me the bad guy, I want to win a fucking Lombardi trophy. So A.J. Brown this season averages 4.7 yards per route run against man coverage. That is by far the highest in the NFL. That is a stupid number. The Pittsburgh Steelers play man coverage at the 2nd highest rate in the NFL. I think you're going to see a ton of A.J. Brown this game. I think they're almost going to force feed him early as well. And I know it's 2 years ago. I know it was 2022, but still kind of similar coverage schemes for Pittsburgh. I don't know if you remember this, but A.J. Brown, when he played the Steelers on the Eagles in 2022, 6 catches for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was the game where he pointed at that one where he pointed at the corners. The guy's like crawling on the ground. He got fined for it. He lit up this defense last time they played. So I like him a lot in this one. I like the Birds minus 5.5. I think they shut down all the stupid media nonsense as well.
No, yeah, you brought me into the A.J. Brown props. So I'll be on him. But remember with the spread, though, if you're going to bet the spread and you're taking Philly, they don't play the first quarter. So this spread is actually probably 8.5 or 12.5 because the Eagles are spotting them 3 or 7. They flip a coin. Should we give them a field goal this game or should we give them a touchdown? And then all of a sudden the second quarter starts and like, oh, let's start playing football, guys.
It's getting annoying. Something's got to give with the first quarter Eagles. Okay, Sunday Night Football. Green Bay Packers are 2.5-point road favorites heading into Seattle. Thought that was a little bit of a weird spread. Another big implications for the playoffs here. If Seattle wins, they have an 80% chance of making the playoffs. If they lose, that drops to 53%, and that basically kind of brings it up to Week 18 when they played the Rams. That game could be massive for Los Angeles if they do win. Seattle also, like, everyone's looking at the NFC West right now for them to win that division. Washington's 8-5. The Seahawks are 8-5. Like, the Seahawks are playing themselves into a scenario here where they don't have to win the NFC West. They can also grab that last wildcard spot if Washington falters. So they've been playing good football lately. Ernest Jones has been just magnificent for them, getting him from the Titans in a midseason trade. Wardsy, fun game. What you got?
Yeah, everybody listening knows I'm a Seahawks fan right now because I'm certainly not a fan of the Bears. And I kind of think that this game, it looks a lot like the matchup against the Arizona Cardinals for me. And I was confident in them beating the Cardinals the last couple of weeks. That's why I placed the Seahawks future to win the NFC West. And I think if they can shut down Josh Jacobs, similarly to how they shut down James Conner, they'll have success in this ballgame. And I know that the Packers defense, if you look at it from an EPA per play metric, they're in the top 10. If you look at their success rate, which is more of a down to down, they're 28. Like,
they're 32nd in pass defense success rate right now, dead last. Yeah, on a down to down basis, stopping the pass.
I think this is a really, really good ball game. Sunday Night Football in Seattle. I like the fact that I'm getting the Seahawks plus 2.5 here. I think this is going to be a great ball game. I'm probably not going to bet the side either way and just watch this as a Seahawks fan, which I am. And I don't know, but I definitely lean Seattle in this spot personally.
I like Seattle too. I liked them plus 2.5. This was like my one that just missed my card here. I don't love betting against Green Bay. I think Green Bay's a really good team, but I just like the spot for Seattle. JSN is quietly having an unreal season as well. He has 300 more yards than the next wide receiver in the slot right now. He is destroying teams in the middle of the field. And we saw what the Lions did against the Packers in the middle of the field. Like they torched them. Keyshawn Nixon stinks. Like they don't have anyone good in the middle of the field to stop the pass. So I think Geno plays well. I think the Seahawks play well. And we saw like without Kenneth Walker, they can still move the ball. Zach Charbonnet had a day. Even if Kenneth Walker doesn't play, they can still run the football. So I think this is a bad spot for Green Bay heading into Seattle, one of the toughest places to play as a home favorite. Like I thought this should be a pick 'em. I think you're getting some juice here with Seattle.
I agree.
All right, let's talk about your Bears.
God.
Do
we have to?
We don't have to spend too much.
So watching the Bears game last week, just knowing that you bet the Bears, I actually was like, hey, now you got the grade A prime rib, like full-blown experience as a Bears fan last week. And looking at these first half numbers last week with the 49ers versus the Bears, 340 yards to 4 in the first half. And I was trying to think of it, and it was like, I want to pose the question to you. How old does the kid have to be of you playing in Madden for him to not be able to get more than 4 yards on you and you to just dummy him like that? Like in my head, I'm thinking like an
3-year-old, 2-year-old, 8-year-old's dummy. An 8-year-old's beating my ass in Madden at this point. I'm talking like,
so?
Probably. I always buy Madden in college football and I never play it. I always buy the video game and never turn on the Xbox.
Yeah, maybe I think you're
3-year-old kid,
I don't know,
a guy that doesn't own a
5-year-old. Like I literally think you're right. I literally do think a 6-year-old could probably get more than 4 yards on you in a first half in Madden. Like that was the most dominating, most disgusting display of football I've ever watched. And I was just thinking of you, knowing that you bet the Bears and thinking, now you know.
I bet them I bet them on the money line. I bet them on the spread. They were one of my locks. It was single-handedly the worst wager I have ever placed, and I'm so sorry if you followed me last week and took the Bears. I sincerely apologize. Warrensy, if I ever lay my hard-earned currency on the Chicago Bears for the rest of the season, I need you to drive to my house and sock me out. Knock me on the pavement. Oh, God.
Oh. That was the most embarrassing game I've ever witnessed, and that was supposed to be a good spot for them. That was supposed to be Matt Eberflus fired game. Now we're going into Minnesota on Monday night. Vikings are laying a touchdown. I don't think that's enough. I'm just so done with the Bears, so I'm going to take the Vikings, but I'm glad that there's 2 Monday night games because I'm going to be watching the Falcons versus Raiders.
This is actually the better one somehow because the other game sucks. I don't really have much to offer on this one. I'm so pissed at the Chicago Bears from last week. Sam Darnold's playing good ball, I guess. Like he was 5 touchdowns last week. He's just making me. I want to fade the Vikings, but I can't when it's the Bears. And I keep saying that. Like the Vikings are coming back down to earth at some point, right, Eric? Are they this good? I don't. It's making me crazy because something's got to give here. A lot of those Sam Darnold yards were not like there was one play where like it should have been intercepted. You saw the clip of the Falcons defender literally running into the stands last week on that coverage play. I sent it to you. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Alford.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Guy was out to lunch. Like the Falcons defense was so bad last week. I guess the Bears can't cover this, can they?
It's hard. It's hard for us to give like big, hard, bold predictions for the Monday nighters this far in advance on the Thursday. But my read on this game was I would actually probably target the Addison and Hawkinson props. Because I do actually think Jalen Johnson is going to step up and try to lock down Justin Jefferson. Those guys have a history of just locking horns and playing hard matchups. So I think Jordan Addison is going to be open all game. Put it that way. That's my say.
I saw Jalen Johnson do the strap sally last week down like 24. It's one of my favorite parts of a DB Selly, and you're down like 24 points. You know what, Wardsy? I'm not going to place money on it, but I will take the Bears +7. They're going to cover. They're going to bounce back and cover. I don't love it at all. All right. Let's finish off with the best game of the week. The Atlanta Falcons are on the road to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry, the Falcons are 3.5-point favorites. I think here's my prediction. This is going to be it. I'm going to take the Raiders plus 3.5, and I think Michael Penix Jr. is starting in Week 16. Because think about this: Kirk Cousins the last 4 weeks, or the Falcons are 0-4. They're on a 4-game losing streak. Kirk Cousins has 0 touchdowns and 8 interceptions during that stretch. They're on prime time right now. The whole world's going to be watching on Monday Night Football because I'm assuming. Actually, I don't know. There's another game, so maybe not the whole world.
The whole world.
They're lucky that they're lucky that there's another game watching. But I don't see him succeeding. I think he's done. Like, I think he's toast as a football player. Well, my eyes are telling me that he can't play football anymore. And when it's under the bright lights and everyone sees it, and you need to win your last 3 games, you need to make a spark plug here decision. I think it's going to be Penix Week 16. I think this is the last game that Kirk Cousins plays as an Atlanta Falcons quarterback. Am I crazy?
I don't mind the take because this Raiders defense is so goddamn bad that if Cousins plays bad this week, there's no excuse for not benching him. The problem, though, with the take is Kirk Cousins still has a damn good handoff. And I don't see how Bijan Robinson doesn't just win this game on his own. Like, they're not stopping him out of the backfield as a runner or a receiver. I think this is the Bijan game where Falcons know their season is in dire need of a win. And let's press the Bijan button 30 times this week. We normally press it 20. This week we're pressing it 30.
I think you're a Falcons fan. You got to be going like, we're only 3.5-point favorites over the Raiders at this point in the season. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, this is what's got to. One more thing before we get out of here. I found this interesting. So I was fucking around on True Media today looking at quarterback stats. I was looking at play action stats for Jalen Hurts. I just wanted to see what was going on there, what their play action rate was last year. Do you know who is dead last in play action rate in the NFL this season out of all quarterbacks?
You led the witness. I'm going to guess Kirk
Cousins. It's Kirk Cousins, Warnsey. Yeah. And think about the amount of success that they had in Minnesota using play action. Like, they were number 1 every year. Like, that was their offense was built off of.
The defense is respecting Bijan way more than anybody that the Vikings were running out of their backfield the last couple of years.
There's 2 reasons behind it. I think 2, I guess, answers behind this. One, either Zach Robinson's not very good at this. Like, they just don't know what to do as an offensive coordinator, or they don't trust Kirk Cousins on the move and he can't run play action, right? So if you can't run play action, like, you're just not using what he's best at. So I think it's done. I think it's over. I'm going to take the Raiders plus 3.5.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. I'm going to take the Falcons minus 3.5 just because of the Bijan factor. But if I was a Falcons fan, I think I'm almost rooting for the Falcons to win, but Cousins not to look good, because I think as a Falcons fan deep down, your ceiling with Cousins is not a Super Bowl. Yeah. You don't know what your ceiling with Penix is.
And the other thing is,
why not just see? Maybe Penix goes in there and just throws the ball around.
He was the 8th overall pick. This isn't like we're begging for a 3rd rounder to come in. Like, you spent a top 10 asset on this guy, right? Like, that's what I think baffles me too. Is everyone's like, Kirk deserves it. It's like, you spent a very valuable asset on this guy, and he's just sitting there waiting. Like, this isn't we're putting Spencer Rattler in for Derek Carr. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's crazy about this situation. All right, Warrensy, recap. That was fun. This is a good week. Warrensy, recap your 3 locks.
My 3 locks of the week. I got the Detroit Lions minus 2.5. We're fading Vince Carter. And then we're going Marvin Harrison Jr., 57.5 receiving yards. We're going to take the over. And then the Washington Commanders minus 7.5.
We are going the Miami Dolphins plus 2.5 over the Houston Texans. The Cleveland Browns plus 4.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs. And A.J. Brown to find the end zone at plus 150. Everyone, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If wherever you listen to your audio podcast as well, give us a like, give us a review. That'd be greatly appreciated. And we will talk to you later.